Hello everyone, in this video we're going to learn about limit properties. So let's first go through all of them and then we'll see how we can use them. So let's start with the constant rule. Anytime we take the limit of a constant, it just equals the constant itself because the constant is never changing. Now for the identity rule. If we have the limit as x approaches c of x itself, we can just plug in the c. And so the answer would just be c, or whatever x is approaching. Now we have the scalar multiple rule. In this case, we have a scalar or a constant multiplied by a function. So when we have a limit of the whole thing, we can actually take the constant out and then multiply by the limit of the function itself. In this case, it's f of x. Now let's do the sum and difference rule. So this could be plus or minus, and the rule will apply in the same way. So we have the limit of a function plus or minus another function. Well, in this case, we can just kind of think of distributing this limit in and say the limit as x approaches c of f of x plus or minus the limit as x approaches c of g of x. Okay, now let's do the product rule. In the same kind of way, if we have the limit of a function times another function, we can just say the limit of the first function, in this case f of x, times the limit of the second function, g of x. Now let's do the quotient rule. When we have a function divided by another function, we have the limit of the whole thing. We can say that the limit as x approaches c of the top function, f of x, divided by the limit as x approaches c of the bottom function, g of x. And one thing we have to note here is that the limit as x approaches c of g of x cannot equal to 0, because we obviously cannot divide by 0. Okay? And now let's do the power rule, where we have a function raised to a power. In this case, this n has to be a rational number. Okay? And so when we have a function raised to the power, kind of same thing, we can actually take the limit as x approaches c of f of x and raise that entire thing to the same power. Okay? And then in a similar way, in this case, we have a root of the nth root. And so as long as the root exists, we can say that this limit equals the nth root of the entire limit of the function itself. Okay? And now this last rule, the composition function rule, is probably the most complicated one. So we have the limit as x approaches c of f of g of x. And so we can't just actually write a simple formula here because it's a little bit more complicated than that. In this case, what we have to do is we actually have to take the limit as x approaches c of the inside function. So the inside function in this case is g of x. And let's say this value equals a. Then we take this a and we say the limit as x approaches a of the outside function, which is this case of f of x. And that'll equal some value, and that is the answer. And so you have to do the inside function first, and then whatever you get, you take that limit of the outside function, and you get your answer. So now that we've learned those rules, let's put them into practice, and we'll do a few different types of examples. Let's start by using graphs. So in this case, we're given a graph f of x and a graph g of x, and we're going to evaluate these limits. So as we learned before, we have this big function with different properties. We can combine the properties and distribute this limit into each one of these functions, because we have the sum and difference rule here, we have the scalar multiple rule, we have raised to an n power, and so all of these can be applied, and we could do them one at a time, or you can just distribute the limit in completely, and we can see that this will now equal 3 times the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x plus the limit as x approaches 0 of g of x squared. And so I did the sum and difference rule first, then brought the 3 out, and then brought the limit inside of this power. And now we just have to evaluate these limits. So we'll have 3 times the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x. So if we look at f of x, and we want to see where does x approach 0, well in this case, if we look at these two sides, as it goes to 0, it equals 0. And then the limit as x approaches 0 of g of x, if we look at 0 from the right and left, it equals -1. And so this will be -1. And that -1 is actually squared. And so if we do 3 times 0 and negative 1 squared, we just get an answer of 1 as our final answer. Okay, so now let's do the next example. In the same way, we can use the quotient rule and bring the limit to the top and bottom. In this case, x approaches 3 of f of x. And then on the bottom, we can pull out the 2 as well and say 2 times the limit as x approaches 3 of g of x. And so now let's see, what is the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x? Well, let's look at 3 here. And we see that 3 is right here, and so the two sides equal, and the limit will be about 1.5. So we have 1.5 on the top, and on the bottom we just have 2 times the limit as x approaches 3 of g of x, which in this case is right here. Both sides are approaching this value right here of 3. Okay, and so we get 1.5 over 6. And we could probably simplify this further, but we'll just leave it in this form. Okay, so now let's do the next example. In this example, we have this limit of this quotient with a sum and a root. And so in the same way, we can go ahead and use all the properties at once. So we can take the limit of the top, which if we use the sum and difference rule, we can break up the limit of f of x and g of x as x approaches 4 of g of x. Okay, and then on the bottom, we have the square root of the limit as x approaches 4 of f of x. Okay, and if we go ahead and now we have to evaluate each one of these limits. So we need the limit as x approaches 4 of f of x. So if we look at that, 4 is right here. And so we see the function actually equals 4 at 4. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the limit. And so if we remember how we evaluate limits using graphs, we can look at how is the function approaching from each side. And as you do that, you get a value of where the open circle is, which is about 1.2. So we see that this one will equal 1.2, and same with this one down here. But now let's look at the limit as x approaches 4 of g of x. Well, at g of x, we have this endpoint right here. So if we look at the left side, it's coming and it's approaching this 1, but on the right side, there's no function over here, which means the limit in this case won't exist because the right side limit doesn't exist. And so since this limit does not exist, this entire limit does not exist. And that will be our answer for this example. And then finally, let's do one using a composition function. So I'm going to just erase these drawings real quick. And so we have the limit as x approaches -1 of f of g of x. So if we remember how to do this, we first have to take the limit of the inside function. So let's see what the limit as x approaches -1 of g of x equals. So if we look at g of x and we look at -1, we see that right here, coming from both sides, it just equals 0. Okay, and so now that we have that, we have to take the limit as x approaches 0, because that's what we got for g of x, of f of x. And if we evaluate that, we look at 0. We actually did this in the first example. It's going to approach 0 because it approaches 0 from the left and right. So the overall limit will also equal 0. Now let's do a more tricky example with this composition function. So let's start just as we did before. We'll see, okay, we have the limit as x approaches 3, and we need to take the inside function, which is g of x. And so if we evaluate this limit at 3, it approaches from the left and right, it's reaching this value of 3. Okay, and so now you'd think, okay, we have this value, we need to take the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x. And 3 here, when we approach from the left side, we get 3, and when we approach from the right side, we get 1. And so the overall limit does not exist. But the answer to this is does not exist. And the reason for that is we have to look back at this first function here. We said that the limit equals 3, but if we look at this, both sides of this function are approaching from the negative side, or less than the value of 3. So we can think about this as the limit as x approaches 3 of g of x is actually equaling 3 from the left, from the negative side. And so now if we take our limit, we only need to look at 3 from the negative side of f of x because the function is existing. If the function came from down here, then we would have both sides to look at. But since we only care about one side where the function is approaching, we only need to look at this x as x approaches 3 from the negative side. So this limit, if we look, now we only care about the left side. We only care about this side, and this side of the limit equals 3. And so this limit will equal 3, and so the overall limit will equal 3. And so that one's a bit more tricky because it depends on how the function is approaching on the first limit. And so that's something to look out for. So now let's look at some algebraic examples. In this case, we have the limit as x approaches c, and we're given the limit as x approaches c of f of x, g of x, and h of x. And so we can use the same sort of properties and methods that we did in the previous examples. So in this case, we have this big limit. We can break it up. So this should be like a multiplied dot. And so this is the limit as x approaches c of f of x times the limit as x approaches c of g of x. And then on the bottom, we have a sum and difference. So we have the limit as x approaches c of g of x, plus we can pull out the scalar of 2, the limit as x approaches c of h of x. And now that we've distributed all these in, we know what the limit as x approaches c of f of x and g of x and h of x equals, so we can just plug those values in. So for the limit as x approaches c of f of x, it equals 2 times the limit as x approaches c of g of x, which is negative 3. And then on the bottom, we have g of x, which is negative 3, plus 2 times h of x, which is 5. And so if we solve this out, we would get negative 6 on the top, and on the bottom we have 10 minus 3, which is 7. And so that would be our answer. And so now let's look at this other example over here. So we have the limit as x approaches c of negative 7 minus f of x, and all of that raised to the second power. So we know we can distribute this limit inside the power and across the sum and difference. And so if we rewrite this, we get the limit as x approaches c of negative 7 minus the limit as x approaches c of f of x, and this entire thing is raised to the second power. And so this part might be a little bit confusing at first, but if we think about all the way to the first property we looked at, the limit times any constant, or the limit of any constant, is just the constant itself. So this part will just stay negative 7, and then the limit as x approaches c of f of x, we know is just 2. And so we can plug in the 2 here, and then this whole thing is squared. And so we have negative 7 minus 2, which is negative 9 squared, which equals 81. And that's the answer. So let's do one final example. In this example, we're actually given what the function is, and we have to evaluate a real limit of x approaches 2. And so in this case, we have a composition. So we've done a lot of composition practice, so we'll do it the same way we always have. In this case, we can say the limit as x approaches 2 of the inside function, which is f of x. And so now we have to evaluate that limit. So let's actually plug in what f of x equals. So we have the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x, which is x squared plus 3. And notice when we're evaluating the limit of a function now, we can actually use our properties that we just learned about and use our sum and difference and this power to bring the limit in, and we'll see that this equals the limit as x approaches 2 of x, and this whole thing is squared, plus the limit as x approaches 2 of 3. And so now we know that the limit as x approaches 2 of x, that was our second property learned about, we just plug in 2. So then we get 2 squared plus the limit of any constant, just the constant, which is 3. And so this will be 2 squared, which is 4, plus 3 equals 7. So now that we have the 7, we can take the limit of the outside function. So we have the limit as x approaches 7 of the outside function, which is g of x. And so we can plug in what we have for g of x up here, and we get the limit as x approaches 7 of 7x minus 1. And now we can use our properties just like before. We can pull out the scalar and say the limit as x approaches 7 of x minus the limit as x approaches 7 of 1. And so now we have the limit as x approaches 7 of just x. That means we can just plug in the 7, and we get 7 times 7 minus 1, which is 49 minus 1, which is 48. And so that's our final answer. And so as we do more practice, you won't have to write in this limit every time, especially for the constants, you'll just be able to plug in 7. But this is the reason why it works, is because we have those properties that we talked about at the beginning of the video. And so those are all the different types of examples I have. If you have any questions about this, leave it down below, and thanks for watching.